If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Blog Talk Radio.
Late night disturbance cocktail in America. In America. In America. And we went west was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Hey, welcome to the special Thursday night edition of the Sackheads Radio Show. How are you this evening? It is the 3rd of April, 2014. So much to talk about tonight. Thank you for everyone who's populating the chat room as we speak. Sitting off to my right is the only man who makes radio look handsome. I don't even know what that means. How are you, brother?
You know what? We have an EEO policy, and I would invite you to review it.
No, I refuse.
I'm doing well. Baseball season started, so I am very, very excited.
I am beyond excited.
The Oakland Athletics are missing Grant Balfour after that blown save last night, so that's awesome.
Well, you know, these things do happen sometimes, don't they?
Yes, we don't need to mock them.
Hey, we gave one up in the late the other night, too, the Red Sox and the O's, so that's just how it goes sometimes. I am thrilled that it's back on there. Just wait all year for this, you know.
Tickled pink. You are tickled pink.
Well,
Literally, we were wrestling before the show started,
and you tickled
I
me.
started tickling you, and you laughed so hard you turned pink. So.
I actually peed a little.
just a little. I didn't tickle your pink because that would be gross.
No, that would be horrendous, actually. Other than that, so much going on inside the world of Sackheads that we're not going to talk about. But, man, there's so much going on in the world of Sackheads.
We should talk about it.
Do you really want to? Are you ready to?
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
No, not yet.
Okay, that's good. That's what you call a teaser there, folks. So we're excited about that, the thing that we're not going to tell you about.
Yeah, the thing that we were so excited about, we're literally bursting at the seams.
That we can't even talk about.
But we're not even going to tell you about it. But let's just say the awesome meter has been pegged at 12, which is weird because it only goes to 10.
Well, No. Have you ever seen? This is one of my favorite movies. I can't even believe that I can't think of it right now.
Ghostbusters.
No,
Weekend at Bernie's.
No, it's about the
Weird Science
in the 70s.
It's about the what?
The rock band in the 70s, and they're like a mockery of every rock band that ever was. And I can't think of it, but at one point he's being
Spinal Tap.
Yes, thank you.
Well, with Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley.
Well, he's being interviewed,
Or
and
Lenny
he's
or
like,
whatever.
I have a monitor here that goes up to 11. And the interviewer's like, why don't you just have one that goes up to 10 and just has more power? This one goes up to 11. Oh, man. So, thank you for reminding me, because that would have been bothering me all evening.
Reactionaries pretty much nailed it in the
RZ nailed it with just as quickly as you did. I don't know. My brain's just mush this week. I don't know why.
I know why my brain is mush this week.
I have reasons, but it's normally my brain's mush every week, and then we get in here and it's like,
you need to spend some mindless time on the chive. That's what you need to do. You have not spent enough time just...
What I need is a couple of stiff drinks and a quiet night. Just saying.
Is that
wrong?
drinks?
Drinks. Oh. With a DR.
Oh.
Get it. That's going to go horrible in a second. So thank you for everyone who's catching us on our Thursday night show. We couldn't do a show last night due to a soccer difficulty. And I will blame him for that.
Well, no, I'm not going to blame him for that. But let's just suffice it to say that it has to do with our amazing
news we can't talk about? Yeah. Are we legally obligated not to talk about it yet?
I don't think so.
Like, will the overseers get mad at us?
We are the overseers.
I know. That's what I mean. Are we going to get mad at ourselves if we talk about it?
Probably.
I'm kind of a jerk for a boss.
Do you want to...
Ask anyone that's ever worked for me.
Nah.
We gotta wait. We do? Yeah. We gotta wait.
We're expanding.
We are expanding. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, there's going to be some good info coming out, so follow us on Twitter and join into our shows if you want to know more in the coming weeks. We are expanding, we are building, and we are happy. We're very happy with the way it's coming together. So we're true professionals. No. Awesome. Yes. Amazing. Yes. Outstanding. Well, one of us. No, it wasn't me.
We're true, good, red-blooded American capitalists.
Yes, we absolutely are. Believe in capitalism like no other.
And I want to say we're blue-blooded. Red-blooded would denote communist, perhaps. So a lot of Democrats could be good red-blooded Americans.
I would actually take green-blooded for the money.
No, but green-blooded maybe would tend to like the peace movement, the whole
like green energy,
nature movement.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be confused with that. As you drive your Tesla to work every day.
I don't have a Tesla. What's wrong with you? You have one of those cubes. I don't even know what that thing is.
The one that looks like a sneaker box?
Right. The fact that you just said sneaker.
Yeah. Sneaker.
Yeah, sneaker. Yeah.
Sneaker box.
You get double bonus points for that.
Thank you very much. So, where to start?
Let us start. Listen, my brain is fried.
I know, but it's
right
Thursday.
Now.
It's not Wednesday, so we're all out of sorts. We're going to try to throw a show together. By the way, the phone number for tonight's show is 346-205-9399. Yes, it is. I'm looking right here on the note Sacco left me. It's still the same phone number.
I'm just staring at you right now.
It's really good for radio.
we need a webcam in here.
We do. I might be coming too.
Like a 24-hour webcam.
Yeah.
People can just pop in and see what we're doing.
3 a.m.
Yeah, anytime. Oh, they're actually there.
Why is Sacco there by himself? Where's his clothes? That's weird. I thought a bear broke into their studio.
Sasquatch does exist.
We have evidence, folks.
He's the actor from Messing with Sasquatch commercials. Did you see? There's a group, and they look for World War II aircraft, remains of World War II aircraft.
Yes, I did hear about this.
And they just identified 2 wreck sites that they believe contain the remains of 3 World War II Americans, pilots or airmen that have been missing since that time, since World War II.
Isn't it amazing to think that after all these years they could be coming home?
It is, and it's a nonprofit group. It's called the Bent Prop Project. And last month they found these crash sites, and they go. It's like once a month, for about a month, once a year, they go over to Palau, one of the islands in the Pacific, where the Americans battled the Japanese for a long period of time. Yeah. Aircraft attacked the Japanese in place before the ground war started there, and they've been searching for American servicemen who have been shot down between 1944 and 1945. And so far, their searches have brought home the remains of 8 previously listed MIAs. So 8 servicemen who I believe were all buried in Arlington in 2010. So pretty exciting. And upcoming, Governor Rick Perry from Texas just announced yesterday that he and his wife are going to travel to Palau on Saturday in order to assist Bent Prop in their endeavor to recover the aircraft. So good on him, and he did make the statement that the trip is at personal expense. It's not at taxpayer expense, and I'm happy that there's these groups in place that still care about that the greatest generation, the World War II vets who served, and trying to bring those American servicemen home. And I'm actually very pleased that Governor Rick Perry is involved in that.
I am as well. And listen, to be the family members and to have your loved ones after so many years, to have the right burial and have them come home and be recognized for their heroism. Not that they weren't recognized before, but just to be able to have that physical closure, I think, is huge. And good on them, Bent Prop and Governor Perry, for bringing that to their families. Because let's face it, if nothing else, that's all you really have left. Ooh, you threw a granola bar at me. You haven't done that in a while.
It was like I reached in my pocket and I have 2 granola bars, and so I did as naturally my inclination was to share.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't know you were a socialist.
I'm not.
Sorry,
I'm a conservative,
and you donated
charitable.
Thank you.
Got out, and I donated 50%. Because if this were a government operation, I would have just given you 25%. Because it would have been mandatory.
Hey, kind of along the same lines as Bent Prop, there's an organization out there who's friends of ours on Twitter. They've been friends of the show, homefronthugs.org. They support our troops in both Iraq, Afghanistan, all over the world. And right now they're doing an Operation Angel to send cards to all those involved in the Fort Hood incident yesterday, the shooting.
Fort Hood 2?
Yeah.
As it will be known.
As it will be known now. Pardon. So if you have a kid and you want to send cards or drawings or something like that for children, and they do this for the troops while they're deployed as well. They're a great organization, homefronthugs.org. Right now they're doing an Operation Angel specifically for Fort Hood, and you can either go to the website and find out information, or you can send the cards directly via snail mail to Homefront Hugs, 1850 Brookfield Drive, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48103. Those folks over there, 24/7, nonstop, getting care packages and whatnot together for our troops as they're deployed. They've been great friends of ours, and they do amazing work. So if you get a chance, check them out, please. We'll appreciate it, and so won't we.
It's an outstanding group, but I don't appreciate your use of the term snail mail.
I'm so sorry.
Look, I like snail mail because it's one of the few things that the government is actually supposed to do.
Right. Even though right now they're $15 billion in the hole to us. Listen, there's that whole credit card controversy going on right now.
Yes,
but other than that,
it's not like the EPA or Department of Education. The government's not supposed to do that, right? They're supposed to do the post office. So the least you could do is build them up a little bit. Instead of snail mail, how's about constitutionally mandated federal agency delivery service?
Or the post office.
Or the post office.
I can't believe that whole credit card thing is coming out. And listen, I get the post office, and most of the people that work there are pretty cool. I have a few friends that are postal employees. I've had my issues with the post office in the past. Like, I don't think when the postal guy comes to my door, he should be wearing a Yankees hat, and his shirt unbuttoned so I can see his barren chest as he brings me my letters. I do have issues, and I think that shows the morale that's in the post office right now, and that could lead to a lot of the issues. But the fact that there's this one woman who has this $100,000 debt to the post office, she's an employee who had one of their credit cards, and she's run up $100,000, shows me that there's not a lot of control going on in that.
Yeah, but at least she's been arrested, she's in jail, and they're working a criminal case against her.
Not even close.
Well, yeah, but probably because they're actually in the midst of doing a criminal investigation.
No, she got a letter asking her to return it. The money. Just return the money. We'll be square. So I'm going to hopefully get a copy of that letter somewhere. And when it comes time for our corporate taxes, I'm going to send that to the government. Be like, oh, look, you see how this works? You'll get it eventually.
Supposed to lead by example, aren't you, smart aleck?
It's just, and the fact that, we gave them that bailout, and listen, like I said, this isn't to every postal employee, but there's a lot of problems over there. And, they want to cut Saturday deliveries and all this other stuff, and part of it's their pricing. It's proof that capitalism works because they can't really keep up with FedEx and UPS and whatnot, and that's really hurt their business. And I understand that the post office is a constitutional agency within the federal government, one of the actual few. They're allowed to deliver post. They're actually, right.
Not compost, because that's all they seem to be spewing lately.
And that's the problem. And that brings up a question, is it time for the post office to go away, do you think?
No, but I think it's certainly time for an overhaul.
Yeah, no, top to bottom overhaul. Let's look at it. They've cut 270,000 employees over the last couple of years. They have that $15 billion loan. They're already showing signs that they're not going to be able to pay that off, despite the fact of what they like to say they can do, and a whole bunch of other issues. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air. Well, on one hand, I like the fact that, the post office is there, and I've used it my whole life and all that stuff. But on the other hand, let's face it, their service has gone down completely. They're losing money hand over fist.
I just like it because it means the government has to build roads, right? Post roads,
right? That's that. I think we're beyond that, though. Oh, I think there's a couple fail safes to cover that now. I think the NTSB and NHTSA, and there's a couple other ones out there that will make sure roads get built. Shovel-ready jobs, like the president said, any day now. Any day now, there's going to be a shovel-ready job out there. Any agency, and listen, I look, if this was the EPA, oh wait, they lose money all the time too. Maybe we should close them as well. But if this was any other federal agency that was costing us $15 billion, as much as I hate the EPA, I think that they probably cover their cost and fines that they levy illegally on poor individuals who just have a river that runs through they didn't know it. But at some point, you really have to start taking into account that if it's failing, you could do an overhaul and hope that it works out, or is it just time to, hang up the old postal bag?
By postal bag, you mean
the mail sack?
Oh.
The one they have over their shoulder?
Why would you hang that up? Do they even still use those? Or is it a satchel?
Well, see,
is that the first official MERS?
Was
the postal satchel the first man purse?
No, Town Criers had them way before that. Who did? Town Criers. The original post.
That would be a great symbol.
I'm just saying, it's not a bad idea. one of the things that's made the life easier on the Postal Service, right, running different housing development, stuff like that, because it's central. Where I grew up, the postman, as we called it, was a guy, used to walk door to door to door and actually deliver mail. It wasn't until I came out here that I see all these central locations for mails.
Right, they drive to like a couple spots on a street and
I'm like,
all the mail off.
I could do that. That walking in the weather crap with all that 75 pounds of... No, that's not for me.
I just thought of something.
What?
So, Article 1, Section 8 for the Constitution. Well, hear me out on this.
I'm listening.
It authorizes Congress to establish post offices and post roads.
Okay.
Does not require them to staff them nor deliver mail. So, as long as they build the post offices, right? They just put post office. And
I just picture like Peanuts with Lucy psychiatry.
Right. And build the roads, as long as they do that and then lease it out to a private company like FedEx, UPS, or something like that, Congress has met its obligation of building post offices. They're just allowing a private company to use them. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea, actually.
Millions, billions, gazillions.
And I want to thank Cog in that chat room for sharing this. This just came out on the 2nd of April. Apparently, the post office has huge issues in Iowa going on right now.
Really?
Yeah, like life and death situations.
Really?
They go into this neighborhood.
Are we talking like major storm?
No, Cedar Rapids.
It's like a neighborhood problem?
Neighborhood.
So, okay, there's a big gang problem, probably a lot of pit bulls off of leashes, a lot of weapons fired. They need more gun control there.
So much so that they halted mail.
Because they need to rehabilitate all of the gang members.
And announced that they would not deliver mail again
in America's most violent city
until the Chihuahua mix.
Wait, what?
The Chihuahua mixed dog.
Chihuahua, like what? Chihuahua and werewolf? Chihuahua and shark?
Irish wolfhound?
Right. What are we talking about here? Chihuahua mixed with what? It could be.
There's a picture of the dog. And it's probably about 25. My dog Lola's about the same size. It's a cute little dog. And apparently the post office has been terrorized so many times by this.
By that?
How do they look themselves in the eye? You have to go to the link.
I'm expecting like half Chihuahua, half killer squid, like half Chihuahua, half Godzilla,
half Chihuahua, half Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Right, something awesome, right? It's like a Destro Chihuahua. I don't know.
If you go to abcnews.com under the Good Morning America, it's titled Chihuahua Makes Halts Delivery to Iowa Neighborhood. It just makes me laugh. So, rain nor hail nor
was UPS delivering to that same neighborhood as FedEx, or did they halt their deliveries as well?
The dog is brown, which is the same color UPS does. So I wonder if UPS unleashed that dog. I'm just saying.
Like, I see what you did there. Unleashed and unleashed is a double entendre. That was very well done.
It could be a way to further affect the post office in the greater Cedar Rapids area. Our thoughts and prayers with the Postal Service.
So your thesis is, was this a terrorist attack? Domestic. Is this some plan to throw a wrench into halt necessary government operations?
Is this private industry literally sabotaging the federal government?
What if it's international terrorism?
It could be.
What if
where's DHL owned? I think they were owned out of Europe somewhere, aren't they?
Are they? So it could be, yeah. Did Putin unleash this dog?
It's the Putin hound of hell.
Because there's...
Okay, I have the idea. You guys need to live in the Chihuahua.
Is that German or Russian?
It's Russian.
Oh, okay.
It's just to your untrained non-Russian ears.
I apologize.
Are we ready? Yes, we'll fly over and push him out of the airplane, and he will have...
That's German!
Dude, he likes to speak German on the side. He's former KGB. You don't know?
No, I do know, and that's the point. That's why I think it's absolutely brilliant that you're doing a German accent while pretending to be Putin.
Guy's the master of disguise, let me tell you. So we've decided that the whole Chihuahua thing, we're going to blame that on Putin. I think that's a brilliant idea, and I'm glad we should go with that.
Yeah, so we don't have confirmation of this yet.
No, it's unconfirmed.
It's unconfirmed report from Sackheads that the Chihuahua of Doom that shut down the Cedar Rapids postal delivery
Chihuahua of Doom
was in fact Russian in origin and was sent here to deliberately disrupt American.
And we will be sending Sacco to the Kremlin to demand answers.
Capitalist ventures there. Again, unconfirmed report, but this is breaking news. And we will be following up on this theory as necessary. And if it turns out to be completely inaccurate instead of a retraction, we may just pretend that it didn't happen. But we're going to roll with this right now. We're going to be on the front lines.
So what lives on the internet forever? Nothing lives on the internet forever.
Yeah, nothing.
You can't find it.
Speaking of on the internet forever.
Yes.
I did see an article where, and we talked about it first. I'm going to brag.
Okay.
I'm going to brag. Listen, we called first on a Wednesday. We have not been able to find it anywhere before us. That hey, when this whole Crimea River crisis, please don't do that. Please don't do that. When that broke, we said, hey, how is this going to affect the space community? Now we have this tie with the Russians. They are our transportation at a cost of roughly $70 million a seat to the International Space Station because we don't have a manned space program anymore. They fly us up, bring us down. We work with them at the International Space Station. And then Friday, Gretchen Carlson, Fox News said, I saw this on the wire yesterday, meaning Thursday, and nobody's talking about this.
Meaning Sackheads Radio.
Except for Sackheads Radio. And so she did a little thing on it. Well, there's a new report that I guess NASA came out and said that they're suspending their cooperation with the Soviet Union in terms of space program, with the exception of ongoing International Space Station operations of the astronauts that are already up there.
Okay, good.
But okay, so if I was Putin, like if I was Putin, and I'm not, and Putin's a bigger a-hole than I am, which is kind of hard to do.
Right, I was going to say that's a challenge for a lot of people.
It is, but not for Putin.
Nope, Putin nails it.
So I'd say, okay, so you do not want to play with us now. Okay, you do not get the ride back to this planet Earth. Or if you do, we shall keep your astronauts.
Or even better,
go ahead, go with your German accent.
I can't do it. I already wasted that tonight. I'm not allowed to do another one. Per the orders of the producer.
That's us.
No. What if they say, hey, you know what? We're going to throw a rocket together real quick and come up and get your astronaut off and send them home to you. Oh, and by the way, it's no longer the International Space Station. If you want to change that, meet us up there. We can have a conversation about it.
If you want to change that, meet us up there, and we shall eat borscht and arm wrestle.
Rooster in the chat room is saying you sound a little bit like his Carlos, which is I don't know if that's a compliment, but no.
Listen, did we not just cover this? Putin is an international operative.
He's a man of mystery.
He's a man of mystery. He can speak with whatever accent he wants. He can speak with a Boston accent like he just did.
Hey, he's pretty good. Listen, we threw this to ourselves, and I don't know if you saw.
Basically, we nailed it. That's all I was trying to say.
No, we nailed it. We nailed that this was coming down the line eventually. It's going to be leverage. Who else is going to go up the... Imagine if they were the... hear me out.
Okay, go.
So say we scramble to get something going to get back up into space. They throw together one of the Genesis or...
Like the USS Enterprise.
Or something. We figure it out.
Right.
And we get up
the
there.
Orion program.
We go to dock, right, and they don't unlock the doors. They're like, no. You get a warrant? You're not coming in. I told you it's ours.
Ooh. You know what? Then Lego Space Police would actually become legitimate. Oh, a warrant, huh?
Here you go. My good friend Officer Blockhead over here happens to have one.
Right.
But isn't that...
You remember that? Lego Space Police?
Absolutely remember that.
You remember the Hot Wheels Space Cop?
I do.
How's that for kicking it over?
Good job. I just bought 3 Hot Wheels the other day because they were on sale for no particular reason.
They were on sale for no particular reason, or you bought them for no particular reason?
I bought them for no particular reason, comma, they were on sale.
Why were they on sale? No particular reason.
Particular reason.
I did that.
But, something that and I don't want to harp on it too long. Fox just did this great thing last week when they were talking about the undoing of America, and space was a big one, and how big it was for this country to get into space and be the first one.
Obama is the big one. Obama is the big reason for the unraveling of America. And Woodrow Wilson and
a couple others. But here we are, 2014, we don't even have a space program anymore, but really to speak of.
Sure we do. We're partners with the International Space Station. What are you talking about? We don't have a program. We still have NASA.
Is that not just the absolute disgusting pussification of our nation when the people that led the space race for years?
Yeah, the Muslims, right? They did all the research. Remember Obama directing NASA to talk about that?
Yeah, that's weird. No, all right, your point's taken. It's completely destroyed.
It makes complete sense, right, when you put it into perspective.
Yeah, maybe we'll start looking at the ocean and see if we can get to the bottom of something that's on our country. Like Lake Michigan or something. Let's do a big expedition to Lake Michigan or something ridiculous. That really bothers me. The whole NASA debacle is bothering me. The fact that we couldn't get to space right now if we had to. And I don't know why.
It shows the complete lack of respect that Obama has for his own party. Democrats, I wouldn't support him anymore. Kennedy sent the vision for the manned space program, specifically going to the moon. And it's clear that Obama has so much distaste for President Kennedy and the Kennedys and everything they've gone through and everything they've done for this country, that why do Democrats support him? Clearly he has such a blatant disregard.
He's got issues. He's got real issues. And the fact that he goes after his own party like that and really rips apart his own party, it's just sad.
It is sad. And he mocks Republicans and everything, and then he won't outwardly mock the Democrats, but apparently he'll disassemble things that are very important, things that they helped build, that a Democratic president actually gave a tremendous speech for. And granted, Kennedy may be like a conservative by today's standards, but to tear his party down like that and to destroy something that means so much to so many people, for shame. We'll tear them down from within.
Absolutely. 347-205-9399 is the phone number. We'll be back in 3 here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about
Reactionary Speak radio program.
Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, you know the thing about chaos? It's fear.
Friday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, here on BTR.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcast on the 405radio.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Sit down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberty, sensitive life, and military, and more. I host military guests and work hard to make them just this radio show that's not like all the others. So stay Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific with me, Tammy Jackson, on 405radio.com.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Hahn, on the separation of church and state. America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, and that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean the government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens. This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Rooster from Outcry Radio. Catch me here on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or follow my blog at conservativeoutcry.net. Now, back to the Sackheads.
Hey, welcome back to the show, 347-205-9399. If you hear a crack in my voice, there's a reason for that.
Hang on, let me set the scene.
Oh, man.
So Sean leaves the studio and he goes out and then he walks through the conference room and he all of a sudden I hear a I'm not going to say it. My nether region. But he doesn't say nether region. It rhymes with halls. And his voice is about 4 octaves too high, and he goes, "That chair just took me out." And so I walk down the hall to follow him, and does he remove the chair, or does he say, "Hey, look out, the chair's right here"? Does he say, "Don't come this way"? No, he doesn't. So I almost trip over the damn chair. Fortunately, I was able to kick it out of the way, throw it across the room, and break it. I kicked that chair's arse for you, because that's the kind of partner I am. And go outside. And I said, "How about a heads up?" And he's like, "Yeah, basically what I just did to you is I said, here, smell this. It smells like shit."
Doesn't it? Doesn't the sandwich taste awful? Try it. Yeah. Hey, doesn't this hurt? Here, watch. Right. Yeah, I believe you. How's about a heads up, brother? Dude, all I could think of was crying for that exact moment. This is why we need a webcam in here. I wish that was on webcam, because even though I was the victim, it's still funny. Yeah, I went down. I seriously, I went down. I was like I was gunned down by a sniper. Like, I don't think I've fallen that quickly to the ground in the last 10 years.
And you curled up in a fetal position and shat yourself all at the same time, which was beautiful.
I may have done that a long time ago. That might have been pre-show. Oh, man. So,
okay, so I want to get your take on this. There is a church in Syracuse, New York. It's a former Catholic church. The Catholic diocese gave it up in 2010. And a Muslim group bought the building. It's a Gothic-style church, and there are 6 crosses along the spires and along the top of the roof. And a Muslim group, like I said, bought it to turn it into a mosque. And there was a group of people that formed an online petition that wanted the Landmark Preservation Board to deny the application by the new owners to remove the crosses on the building, basically saying that it's a historical building or whatnot. And a ruling came back basically allowing the Muslim group to remove the 6 crosses from the top of the building. And I want to know your reaction to that, because I have mine, and I will like to share it with you. But I'm curious, because I had an initial reaction to the story.
Right.
My initial reaction to the story was,
being a Christian, I bet.
Yeah.
The emotion first.
Yep. My initial reaction was, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That was my initial reaction.
Emotion first, absolutely.
Okay.
But then I get into freedom of religion, and this is where a lot of people, I'm sure, in our chat room and our listeners are going to say, whoa, wait, what? But we have freedom of religion in this country.
They know that. Our listeners know that.
No,
Our listeners and people that follow us are intelligent.
I know.
I give them credit. You may not.
You know those idiots that show up every single... No, I'm kidding, of course. If they buy it and they're the sole owners, it's not like they're renting it and the owner of the property can't evict them, and now they're like, haha, we're going to cut down these crosses. Listen, the church gave it up.
I just pictured like the swordsman from Indiana Jones.
All I think is Bugs Bunny, but that's all right. When the New York Diocese gave up the church, they also gave up it being a Catholic church.
Yeah.
And then the new owners bought it, and you know what? If they wanted to turn it into a pizza place and cut down the crosses,
or a brothel,
if
it was legal,
as weird as that would be, but I bet you that would sell out. They have the right to do that, and that's one of those times I think that you have to go to the Constitution. And I don't know what their local
literally go to the archive
and read it.
Stare at it. Okay.
I'm at the USF Constitution. Let's get that up the Sault Ste. Marie River and make some things happen. No, I don't get any credit to Sault Ste. Marie River.
Oh no, yeah, you nailed it. I still want to put that ship back into service and just fire
one
the
round
cannon
and go home.
Yep, fire the cannon in anger and war, and then sail it home and say it fought.
But I don't know what the local ordinance are, and obviously they went to the historical society, so they're doing that whole backdoor thing that they were trying to do. But they have the right as the current owners on private property to cut it down. I don't see anything more than that.
Yeah, I agree. I had the initial reaction of, oh, that's ridiculous. Our country was founded on these values and blah blah blah. But then I read it, and it wasn't an anti-religious group that bought the building just to cut the crosses down. It's a Muslim group.
Or if it was a church and a group filed a lawsuit saying, hey, those crosses are too big and they're offensive and we need to take them down, totally different.
Absolutely. This to me is akin, and I had to think of it in these terms. If a Christian church purchased a former Muslim mosque and they wanted to put crosses up, and a Muslim group said, no, that used to be a mosque. You can't put crosses up. Or some other symbol, right? If there's a crescent or whatever, depending on what other religion that belonged to. And then that group said, it's a Christian place now, but you have to keep our symbols up.
Mm-hmm.
I would call
it's no
BS on that as well. So like I said, I had an initial reaction to this, and once I got into the meat and potatoes of it and I thought about it, and the Muslim group wants to use it as a mosque, regardless of whether you agree with their particular religion or not, they have that religious freedom. And I think it would be wrong to force them to worship in a building that's supposed to be representative of their faith, but because of some ruling by a government entity that it's a historic building, they have to do so under a symbol from a faith that they don't believe in.
Well, it's all about legal precedence. And once you allow something to go through like that, and let's say that he upheld it, you now have that legal precedence, and that's all well and good. It's almost like when Reid in the Senate went with the nuclear option ruling, went, hey, that's all good for you right now.
Right now, yep.
But what happens when the tables turn the other way, and you have to be mindful of that. So that's when you revert back to the law that we have in the Constitution, and you have that respect whether you agree or disagree. We say this all the time. You don't have to agree with somebody's lifestyle or choices or whatever. You just have to respect their liberty to do that. And I think it's just as simple as that. I don't think it goes much beyond that.
Nope, I don't either. I like I said, I saw it, came across the story. I wanted to throw it out there to you and get your thoughts on it. So let's talk about Fort Hood.
Yeah, let's get into Fort Hood.
Fort Hood 2. So we had another tragedy again at Fort Hood, where a soldier with what is believed to be have had mental health issues. I don't know for sure, but that's.
There's a lot of reports, including the base commander today, confirmed that he was being treated for depression and anxiety.
Yeah,
and He was deployed for 3 months, I think back in 2011, he said. And I don't know if it's pre-PTSD diagnosis or they're working towards a PTSD diagnosis, but he confirmed that it was anxiety and depression.
I have something about that. He was deployed for a 3-month tour, right?
That's what they said.
Now, in World War II, our combat troops, you went to war and you stayed in war, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't do a year there and, you were maybe a couple of days in combat. And I'm not downplaying our current soldiers and when they're deployed at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there is a difference between a deployment now and fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan and whatnot versus what happened in World War II, where you were deployed, you stayed in the war. I have family fought in World War II, and they were there longer than a year rotation out, and they were in hot combat areas, especially over in Europe and Pacific theater the entire time. So did we have a rash of rapid mass murder events after World War II? No, but did we have a rash of soldiers coming out? Because guns were more prevalent then. We didn't have all these newfangled gun restrictions, right? So, gosh, I couldn't imagine living in that violent America back in 1945, 46, and 47.
It's more than the drive.
Veterans were coming home and they saw it's more than the car. Olympic combat tours over in Europe and Guadalcanal and all these other places, and man, could you imagine the carnage that was wreaked by all those gun-toting American veterans with psychological injuries?
Well, let's start. First of all, 3 soldiers were dead, plus the shooter, 16 wounded. This specialist, Ivan Lopez, was the shooter.
Yeah, I've seen. But to get back to what, we're seeing. I mean, sometimes these vets that have these, they're being diagnosed with PTSD and it's being treated as a mental health thing, and I think that's good. I think they do need some help in dealing with some of that. But I don't know that I have issue blaming that being a cause for the violence. I think it's an excuse.
I think to a point you're right.
Because otherwise we would have seen a lot more of these events post World War II.
Well, and you know what? We may not have. There may have been incidents that we didn't know about because of the way media is today. There may have been other things that went under the radar. But let's talk a little bit about the age group that is active duty military right now. And you look at some things that have changed as a society. A lot of these kids, and I say kids because a lot of them are younger than me now, grew up in the Ritalin Society, the bipolar society, where they just, and Gulf hit it in the chat room, they're just throwing medications at these kids at a young age. And a lot of times, and I don't know how it's changed now, but a lot of times the personal medical history of these folks may not have included any sort of psycho issues if they went to a therapist or something like that outside their regular doctor. So when they got their medical records from their MD, it may not have included, you don't know, but
that's the same problem that would have had in World War II enlistments, though, correct?
No, I know, but what I'm saying is the medications that the kids that are in our military now, a lot of them were being thrown on when they were kids. Like I said, that Ritalin, all those antidepressant and bipolar and this and that and the other thing, I think plays a big role because it's not just in the military. You know, we see the Fort Hood, but we see the increase of violence amongst our inner cities, and it's a mental health thing, as we've said time and again.
You know, yes and no. It's a mental health thing. I think can be a trigger for some of this.
Absolutely.
But here we get into, look, Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. We've talked about him before. He was a psychologist. He was Army Special Forces, served combat tours. He is a psychologist. He's not a slouch by any stretch of the imagination. He's written several books on the warrior mindset, the psychology of killing. Specifically, I wrote a book, Stop Teaching Our Kids to Kill. So it's a great book if you have a chance to. I've had a chance to go see him talk. I've met him, and he has an interesting, I don't even want to call it a point of view because he backs it up with facts, where he talks about the graphic violence that our youth are exposed to from a young age. And I'm not talking violence that you and I were exposed to, like Bugs Bunny, right? An anvil falling on the cartoon dog's head. Right. That's different than graphic film violence or graphic video game violence where it looks real. And he actually talks about the brain scans of these kids and so forth. And the methodology, even to desensitize soldiers and law enforcement and whatnot, to be able to use, to be able to psychologically prepare them for killing, is done when these kids play these violent video games and watch the movies and so forth. Because at a specific age, and I believe he said it's under 5 or 6, they don't know that it's a movie. They know because you tell them it's not real, it's a movie. But the brain does not process those graphic images as being a movie. It processes them as actual homicides or actual violence taking place. It's real life to them. It's real life to them. Whether they say they know it's not real, the brain processes it as though it's real. Therefore, psychologically, they have seen X number of homicides, violent homicides or whatnot, and so you do have that desensitization. Now, that in and of itself is not the reason why these mass murder events happen, or these rapid mass murder events happen. But you combine that with other factors or with other psychological factors, and now you have that kind of toxic mix. And there was California actually tried to put a law in place, and it was a proposition, and the voters actually passed it, that would have prohibited video game manufacturers and movie companies and whatnot from marketing violent video games specifically to minors. Very much like they do with cigarettes back in the 90s. Right. And this wasn't something where they said, no, you can't make these games. You just can't target marketing towards minors because of the violence and so forth. And now Governor Jerry Brown, he was then Attorney General Jerry Brown, actually defended that law, and it went all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. And the United States Supreme Court struck down the law, saying that the law was unconstitutional, that it infringed upon the rights of the video game company to market to whoever they wanted, basically. Provided they put a rating on, which they do, right? But it's the rating system that nobody pays attention to. Again, you can blame parents' fault as well. We can have that discussion another time. But the dissenting opinion, if you have an opportunity to read it, is very, very good, and it goes in depth into the research and whatnot that was done on that. And so you talk about this generation, the desensitivity to violence, and I think that's where a lot of it is coming from, and that's the difference between our generation now, or the younger generation now, versus the younger generation of our World War II vets. So PTSD existed back then; it was just undiagnosed. We didn't have a name for it, right? Right. And it exists now, but the difference we're seeing, what's the difference? It's not the PTSD in and of itself that's causing these events, right? Otherwise, we would have seen an explosion of this type of event after World War II, I think, and we haven't. So what's contributing to it now? And we are becoming more violent as a society, even though our murder rate may go down. Well, it's not the violence rate hasn't gone down, but the mortality rate has gone down. Why is that? We've had an advancement, medical advances, huge medical advances. So we're saving people that would have died, X number of 30 years ago. X number of years ago. So while the murder rate may have gone down, violent crime has not. And so there's all these factors that contribute to this. And that's just kind of an aside. I didn't mean to get off on a tangent. No. My point is they bring up his service and PTSD, and that's the reason for it. And my whole point was, no, it goes beyond that. Right. And you don't know what, it has yet to come out, at least I haven't seen, what this kid's childhood was like. He grew up in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a very violent place for people that don't know. There's nice parts of Puerto Rico that are very nice, and then once you get into the less than nice part, Puerto Rico is very lawless and very violent. I don't know where this kid grew up. Like you said, you have that desensitization to a lot of things from television. I bet you if you track all the different wars we had
and all the different problems that veterans have had, the longer you go or the later in the timeline you go, I think you'll see more issues. Part of that reason is the fact that they've seen murders on it, in what they thought was real life before, where World War II, the kid in Omaha, Nebraska, that gets drafted and he ends up in Germany, had never seen it before. He may have seen the horse get put down or the family dog or the cow, whatever, maybe once or twice, but when you grow up on a farm, you don't get to see those sort of things, so I think it's a lot different. Now with modern technology, and let's face it, 9-year-olds walking around with cell phones, if they can look up anything they want on YouTube. Yeah, and it goes back to parenting.
Yeah, and it does. Well, but you can only control that so much, right? If a kid's by himself with a cell phone and he's downloading whatever video games on the phone, that's a different story. But so he killed 3, wounded 16. He was the 20th casualty in this case. Now here's the thing: if those other soldiers had guns, this violence would not have gone on that long.
Right. When you start now, and of course, everyone immediately, you watched Twitter yesterday, and before they knew how many people were hurt, everyone immediately was jumping on that. Hey, gun-free zone, this is what happens. I think I sent you a text. Amazing what happens in a gun-free zone. Well, and the Major General, Lieutenant General, rather, who's in charge of the post, Mark Milley, answered a couple of questions during the press conference about that last night. After the first Fort Hood with Nidal Hassan, the terrorism incident, as much as they don't want to call it that.
Any workplace violence.
Yeah, right. And then this incident, are you reconsidering allowing military members to carry concealed on base, et cetera, et cetera? And he pretty much said no, and he wasn't going to debate about it, and that he didn't believe that they should be carrying on base.
And because he's an idiot.
Well, for whatever reason.
No, he's an idiot. If he doesn't even want to entertain to debate it or to discuss it,
well, in his defense on that aspect, it was during the initial press conference when he was discussing casualties, victims.
Okay, but show leadership and say that's not a discussion I'm willing to have right now.
Right.
However, we do have to address our soldiers' safety on base, and we will be looking at all options. Maybe say that, right? But to come outright and say no, and we're not even going to talk about it, is number one.
So I'm not going to debate.
I'm not going to debate that. Is so close-minded, and as a leader, he should be open to possible suggestions, and whether he may agree with it or not, at least be willing to entertain alternate ideas, because obviously this current system is not working. What are you going to do now? Disarm your cops that are on base?
Right.
You're going to disarm your security personnel? The gun that this specialist used was not even registered to him at Fort Hood.
Right, he wasn't supposed to have it.
He wasn't even supposed to have it.
He got it on base somehow.
Oops. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to search every vehicle? Are you going to search every soldier's vehicle that comes on base? Every officer's vehicle that comes on base? Or are you going to? What are you going to do?
Well, and I do have a couple of the restrictions that are on Fort Hood bases, and I think this goes for a lot of military.
You mean military bases, not just Fort Hood, right?
But I think Fort Hood actually, after 2009, enhanced a little bit. But all service members and their dependents must register their firearms with emergency services. If the owner sells, trades, or loses the gun while on post, they must notify officials. That's if you live on base. Any private weapon transported onto Fort Hood must first be registered and then brought through a specific gate on base. That gun is subject to inspection. Commanders have the right to order service members who live on post to store their private weapons in the unit arms room. Commanders can ask soldiers who live off post to turn in their weapons if they believe the person is at risk of suicide or harming others. Additionally, the soldier in those situations could be ordered to move back to base. So that's just a couple of the firearms ruling. Or firearm rules that they have there at Fort Hood.
But here's current Department of Defense policy. It talks about, quote, the authorization to carry firearms shall be issued only to qualified personnel when there is reasonable expectation that life or DoD assets will be jeopardized if firearms are not carried. Evaluation of the necessity to carry a firearm shall be made considering this exception weighed against the possible consequences of accidental or indiscriminate use of firearms. DoD personnel regularly engaged in law enforcement or security duties shall be armed. Okay, here you go. You have two events now at Fort Hood. let's talk just about Fort Hood. You have 2 events at Fort Hood. I think there is a reasonable expectation at this point that life and DOD assets will be jeopardized if firearms are not carried. I think that argument could be made. So why would that lieutenant general not be willing to have that conversation? Can he make a straight-faced argument that it is not a reasonable expectation that life is jeopardized on that base? You've had 2 rapid mass murder events or active shooter events at that base, specifically within a few years.
And listen, it shows, again, as we've discussed time and time again, anti-gun policies of these gun-free zones. Listen, every school in the country is a gun-free and drug-free zone. You still get guns and drugs on them. Military bases are no different. He knew when he bought that weapon onto base that he would be one of the few people armed outside of law enforcement, and he knew he had enough proficiency to do maximum damage in a small amount of time before he was going to be confronted.
Exactly. And as soon as he was confronted, committed suicide. He was a coward and he committed suicide.
Absolutely.
And that's a common theme in a lot of these active shooter type events. If you look at the various cases, when confronted by armed resistance, they'll go run, tuck their tail between their legs, and nibble on the barrel themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll try and start their 40 or their caliber or whatever it is they're carrying.
And I understand the argument. I've already seen the argument of, well, it is a military installation. You do sign away certain rights when you join the military. If you don't want to take the risk of being in that base or anywhere where those rules apply in the military, don't join the military. It's not mandatory. I understand that argument to a point. However, you have to separate that, and as the military Department of Defense themselves, you have to look at it like you said. Hey, we have a problem, and we have to start looking at alternative measures. And maybe it'd be time to look at these soldiers that we give all these training and experience to, and these guys who we essentially give the best weapons on the face of the planet and drop them right off in the middle of a sandbox and say, "Go get them." Mm-hmm. And we trust them with that. And we trust them that drive tanks and fly planes and all this stuff. Maybe it's time we trust them to be able to carry their own pistols on them. Or their rifles, or whatever. And maybe, like you said, maybe it's time to have that argument. And we need to move forth. Because you know what? If there's a Fort Hood Part 3, people are going to say, what the hell are you doing in allowing this? And now, I hate to say it, now it's a marked spot. If somebody with a vendetta and somebody who's long-term planning wants to, or some sort of planning, anyone with ill intentions that wants to make a statement, military member, civilian, whatever, and they can access that base, they're now going to do it because it's such a big deal. You're almost asking for it, and that's a problem.
Hey, I just got a text message from Sacco.
Yes.
Telling us that it's break time, that it's time for a break.
Okay. He's on it. I'll tell you, that kid just never stops. 347-205-9399 is that phone number. We'll be back into here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kay, your host of The Andrea Kay Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state. America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, and that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean the government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens. This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. As a native Bostonian, my heart broke on April 15, 2013, watching those horrendous attacks at the Boston Marathon. Now there's a way that you can help. Go to onefundboston.org, ONEFUNDBOSTON.org, where you can donate to help the victims and families from this awful attack. Onefundboston.org, all the proceeds will go directly to the victims' families. Thank you very much from Sackheads Radio.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegance and
I don't know
quality.
how you look at things, though. If you could just fix it. So, hey, we're back. 347-205-9399 here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday night special event. That was it? Let's see next week. Oh, wait, we still have another hour? Oh, man.
Yeah, I want to make another point on fatherhood, and it's more of a general point on active shooter events or rapid mass murder events. I have to wonder, and I think we are raising a generation of victims. I agree with that, and I look at schools, and I look at how kids are treated at schools and what happens. I remember when I went to school, if somebody hit you first, you could whoop their ass, and the person and the person who got in trouble was the dumbass that started the fight.
Absolutely, I've been that dumbass.
And if you were the dumbass that started the fight, and then you whooped somebody's ass, well, nobody said anything, right? Or you got in trouble because you started the fight. But either way, whoever started the fight got in trouble. It's just whether you got a butt kicking or not. And nowadays, that's not the case. Nowadays, if kids, and I don't think it's just out here in California, I think it's nationwide, but now if kids start a fight, so somebody comes up and they punch somebody first, and the victim kid, it uses self-defense to protect himself, uses controlled violence to protect himself by hitting the kid back, controlling him to the ground, whatever it is. Both kids get in trouble for fighting, and both kids get suspended. And they're taught that it's not okay to hit back and that they need to go tell a teacher so that the other kid can get in trouble. So they're not allowed to defend themselves without getting in trouble. So if you got somebody who's just kicking your ass and you have to run away to go tell a teacher, first of all, that's going to encourage bullying, I would think, because they're going to call you a coward. Right. But it also teaches you from a young age and molds you and gets you in this mindset of, number one, I can't fight back, no matter what. And number two, there's somebody that's going to take care of it for me. Right. And both of those things are fundamentally flawed and fundamentally false and against our values as American citizens and against our rights as American citizens. We have a right to self-defense. Well, it also gets we have a God-given right to defend ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. It gets you to the point, too. I think it teaches our kids that it doesn't matter if you're the aggressor or the victim, you're both going to be in trouble, so you might as well be the aggressor before you're the victim. Does that make sense? You know, it gives that mentality of, hey.
Well, yeah, because then the aggressor is the victim, right? Well, why is he doing this? Does he have something going on in his personal life? We need to get him counseling. He has issues. No, he doesn't. He's an asshole. That's the problem.
Backed around a little bit.
He hasn't had his ass kicked. Daddy didn't spank him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Mommy didn't backhand him.
I've said this time and again. I've been hit. I've been struck as a child plenty of times. Not once was it undeserved. I deserved every beating I ever got, and I got my share.
Right, I did too.
But guess what that taught me? It taught me where my place was in right from wrong. It also taught me it hurts when you hit somebody else or yourself, or you know what I mean, or get hit. It hurts. It puts that baseline of pain, and it sets that moral understanding of, hey, you know what? This hurts, so if you do this to that person, it's going to hurt just the way, I think it gives you that kind of that moral compass of, I don't want to put somebody else into that pain that I went through when I got my rear end kicked because I got paint, I painted my name on the kitchen window or something silly with lead paint or whatever. But it gives you that moral compass that, I have a conscience. I don't want to put my friend or this person in pain without reason. You know what I mean? It's different if the person attacks you. Yeah, it's game on in my opinion. But if it's just to walk up and, you look at drive-by shootings, you look at all these different issues that we have in society that have been going on for years. It's not like this is a brand new thing. And I think a lot of that is the lack of discipline coming from parents and setting up that kind of moral, or that conscience in that child. Hey, you know what pain is. You now understand what pain is. Don't do that to somebody else. Have that emotion, have that respect for somebody else not to do that. And I think that's something right now that is missing severely in our society. There's no respect on any level. It's all about mine. What can be done for me? What can do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. There's none of that, hey, what can I do for that person? Even if it's just a nice thing. Or do I walk away? Yeah, he's chipping at me and maybe he's flapping his gums in my face about being a jerk. But instead of me just cleaning him out, maybe I'll walk away right now and not hurt him. Or maybe because he's wearing a different color shirt than I am, I'm not going to go get a gun and shoot him just because he's wearing a different color shirt. It's the morals that we've lost along the way. That the serious problem is starting to swell in society, I think.
So what's the fix?
Well, I think parents need to be more involved with their kids.
I think parents need to be more involved in the schools because the schools have been allowed to run amok.
I could not agree with you more. And I think it's twofold.
Try to agree with me more.
Okay. I think parents and teachers need to get on the same page. I think teachers need to stop teaching about life and what they consider to be moral and leave that to parents, and parents need to actually pick up that gauntlet and run with it.
Yeah, I think
teachers just need to go back to reading, writing, arithmetic, science, and leave the moral upbringing of their child to the parents. The flip side of that is parents need to step in and get engaged and be involved.
That's the crux of that progressive argument, right? Well, if the parents don't do it, then we have to do it. And if we have to do it for one, then we have to do it for everyone. No, right. No, if that parent fails to do it, then guess what? That's when classmates step in and whip that kid's ass. And the kid gets a real quick lesson in and I'm not encouraging bullying or anything. I have all the left bloggers of, those fat kids say bullying is great. No,
you know what?
But there is peer pressure, right? And there is peer pressure and social norms even in the school level.
Norm. Sorry.
So yeah, I think getting the federal government out of schools, putting them more in local control, getting parents more involved, and I don't even want to say empowering teachers because they already think that it's their show to run, and it's not. It's their job to facilitate education and assist the parents in that education of that child. It's not their job to quote unquote educate the child or indoctrinate the child. So I think that we have this really bad, this toxic mix right now of what we talked about in terms of our violent society and why that is. And again, Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman has some great information out there about it. And you couple that with this toxic mix of this victimization of society, where you're taught to be a victim. You're basically trained to be a victim. It's encouraged, and and those who have this moral compass, as you put it, that directs them to do good or to try and protect others, that's suppressed at some level, and that's a real toxic mix. It really is, because now you have these Dave Grossman refers to them as wolves. He refers to them as the sheepdogs who are there, the warriors that protect the military and the law enforcement that protect the herd, and the wolves that are trying to kill the herd. And you have the wolves that are getting more violent, and they're getting worse. They're conditioned for violence, and you have the sheep that are becoming even meeker because they're taught that it's not okay to fight back. Somebody else will take care of them. And vote for Obama and never fight. Just that's what they're taught. Just widening that gap. And I think it's going to man, if you look at a lot of our social policies that are in place in this country, it's all about something for nothing. And then when you don't get that something, to complain and whine and bitch and moan and to have a million different reasons, and it's not my fault, and why did this happen to me, and me. Listen, I've said before, and I said again, thank goodness I had excellent parents, because I know when I make a mistake to take ownership of it. And I don't blame you if I have a bad show. I don't blame Sacco if I have a bad show. When have you ever had a bad show? I've had a few. I blame you when you suck. I mean, when you suck, I blame you. And that's because I take responsibility for myself and for you. I'm just one of those guys. I help you out, brother. But, we get further away from the individual responsibility. And there's no such thing as individual responsibility anymore. And Ken actually put up in the chat room from Army Secretary John McHugh's Thursday saying that the shooter went to a psychiatrist last month for no violent or suicidal tendencies. He was prescribed Ambien for a sleeping problem. Yeah, look, it's a tragedy. You may not have seen those, but that again, how do you prevent this? Well, you allow the soldiers to carry their guns on base, and the second somebody starts opening up, you confront them and you end the violence with violence. But I know it's going to come out. You're not going to be able to detect these ahead of time 100% of the time. You're not. No, but I know it's going to come out that, despite what the psychiatrist said or the psychologist said, is there are going to be people who are going to come out just like with the Aurora shooting, just like with Nadal Hassan, just like with Sandy Hook, and said, oh, there were signs. We just kind of ignored them. It's that whole afraid to say something thing. And I mean, look at Aurora. You talk about the psychiatry there going awry. They knew that kid was a mess. They knew he was going to do something violent, and they couldn't get on the same page. So even when there is that information ahead of time, or that strong belief ahead of time, somebody falls through the crack and you have an Aurora shooting. Okay, but a lot of times the family knows first. Yeah, right. But they don't say anything. Right. Adam Lanza's mother knew that he was disturbed. Right. Yes. She kept firearms in her house, which is her right, but she kept them in a manner where he had access or was able to get access. I'm not a gun control guy, but I'm for responsible gun ownership. I'm 100% for responsible. I don't have a problem if people. I think people should lock up their guns or secure them in some way to keep them out of the hands of unsupervised young children and of mentally ill members of their family. Mm-hmm. That makes good sense to me. That's a moral responsibility that they have. I believe, as gun owners. That's part of being a responsible gun owner.
I equate it to not giving a 5-year-old the keys to the car and saying, all right, go to the store and come right back. You're not going to make that stupid decision, at least you shouldn't.
Right.
You're not going to do that with the firearm either.
Right. So there are signs there, but family members typically don't come forward.
No, they're afraid to.
They're afraid to. There are certain, and they're either afraid to, or they're embarrassed to, or they think, oh no, not my kid. So I think that's where a focus can be. In addition, I mean, look, the left is not going to bend on the violence issue, right? The left is not going to say, oh yeah, no, we really need to tone down the lyrics of hip hop music because it's art. They're just expressing themselves. Bullshit. It's filth. That's what it is. It's crap. But hey, if you want to listen to it, that's your right. You can listen to it. But the left won't make those types of statements, right? They won't say that this particular video game is not right for children, or that these movies should not be made. They should be made in a more responsible way or marketed to a particular crowd. They don't do that. They have a rating system. They put the rating system, but they put the commercials for violent movies all over TV, right, during prime time when kids are up. It's not like there's a lot of controls there. So I think that if the family members that are going to really be the ones to first detect this, they need to be encouraged somehow, educated somehow to recognize those signs and to feel confident in their ability to come forward. Because you're not going to catch it by a psychologist that maybe just met this person a month ago. I'm not saying that's the case here because I don't know. But the family members that are with them day in and day out are going to be the ones to better detect that stuff.
Well, and it goes beyond that. There's going to be coworkers. There's going to be other people, friends. And listen, I can't imagine it's easy to see a friend or a family member, a loved one, who's starting to slip into a serious mental illness, and turn around and be like, ooh, he's going to hurt somebody or hurt. But I can't imagine living with the guilt if I didn't. And we're going to find out more as time rolls out. It took a few days for the information about the movie art shooter to come out before we really learned about his background. Same thing about Adam Lanza. Sandy Hook. Remember Sandy Hook? The first 3 days, everyone said, oh, he's a good kid. Oh, he's a little bit of a loner, but he didn't really bother anyone. And then all of a sudden, the first one hit. Oh, well, no, he did have some issues, and then it unraveled. And I feel that this is going to come out more and more, that somebody's going to catch something that they probably should have caught earlier. But at the end of the day, it now starts getting into the question, like we talked about earlier, is the base security. How do you get it on base? If it's a gun-free zone, they should have all been safe. And are we going to eventually start protecting our men and women in uniform? And I think that,
or allowing them to protect themselves.
That's what I meant.
They have the capability to protect themselves.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. We train them for that. They're responsible. They can do it.
It completely off the mainline discussion that we're having right now. I also think it's ironic that this perpetrator was also stopped and shot or confronted. They think he may have been shot once before he committed suicide by a female police officer, which was also a female police officer that killed shot Nadal Hassan and stopped him too.
Same one?
No, that would have been uber scary and weird, but I just thought that was ironic that it happened on the same base and that happened.
And that it was a female?
Yeah.
Just why do you hate women so much?
It has nothing to do with that.
Well, then why does it matter that she's a woman?
Because statistically, there's less females in law enforcement than there are males. That's a proven fact right now. And the fact that it's this base, active shooter on a military installation, the same base, and it was a female both times, just the odds of that happening, I thought, was pretty slim.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. The odds of that happening are very slim.
Thank you.
But I happen to celebrate women in all aspects of it.
It wasn't an anti-female statement.
And the left was right about you.
Listen, Jay Carney.
The left was right about you.
I know you have binders full of women somewhere. Relax over there, okay?
Binders full of women.
So, I'm sure we'll have a couple follow-ups here and there.
You know what? We need to make more gun-free zones.
We have them all over the place.
We need to make more. We need to stop manufacturing. We need to invent a time machine. That can go back. Hear me out on this. That can go back and prevent the Chinese from making gunpowder. You know what? It is all the fault of the Chinese. The Chinese knew thousands of years ago that we would one day be a superpower and they would need to take us down from within, so they invented gunpowder. Follow me on this conspiracy theory, folks. This one's going to catch on. We have no confirmation of this yet, but this is another story that Sackheads may be following up on. Did the Chinese purposely invent gunpowder in order to overthrow a future superpower, being the United States of America, which was not even founded at that time? Were they in fact geniuses?
They were.
Are they clairvoyant? Are the Japanese not only very good at reproducing, but are they clairvoyant?
They might be. So we have the I Hate Whales bumper sticker that we said we're going to release someday.
And lead paint. Gunpowder and lead. Listen, we can tie it together, folks.
I just want to know. What bumper sticker you're going to come up with to blame the Chinese for this. Gun violence. Blame the Chinese. You think we can do that?
Gun violence. No, pose it as a question. Gun violence. Who invented gunpowder anyways?
That's too long for a bumper sticker. I'm just saying, based on your statement right now, right, if we were going to launch a bumper sticker tomorrow for everyone to deal with the actual root cause of our gun violence, it would be gun violence, blame the Chinese. Sackheads Radio.
Yeah, but people wouldn't catch that. You'd have to be a listener to this show to catch that.
Well, maybe people would have to tune in to figure it out.
Or very intelligent, right? Okay, hang on. Gunpowder equals gun violence. Thanks, China.
I'm writing this one down.
I like that one. That's simple, right? To the point.
Thanks, China. Does that mean forget it. I won't even go down that road.
No, go down that road.
No,
don't be a sissy.
I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. You're going to look at me like I have 10 heads. So does that mean any shooting victim's family,
blame China,
can sue
the Chinese government in international court?
Government?
The UN should crack down on China because of their human rights violation of inventing gunpowder. Without it, guns would never have been invented. Cannons would never have been invented. Folks, we may have not ever had war again.
Nobody would have ever.
Okay, well, it would have been war, but with the medical advances, we can survive arrows.
Well, exactly. With the current radar, I can track a ball coming in. One of the big catapult balls. I get that dodged easily.
Right. But you wouldn't be able to have a missile to blow it up.
Wouldn't that be weird to see like an F-16 flying at like Mach 3 with all these rocks tied underneath, flapping behind it to drop on its target?
Yes.
It almost looked like truck nuts just on an F-16. Fighter nuts. Trust me, the fighter pilots don't need any more nuts than what they have. Trust me. Oh, man.
That is great.
Oh, boy.
Should we blame Mother Nature? Because without sulfur and charcoal, there would be no gunpowder.
So then we'd have to blame the dinosaurs.
Blame the green people.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea either.
Blame the environmentalists.
Blame dinosaurs.
No, I like that, though. Gunpowder equals
gun violence.
Gun violence. Thanks, China.
I have that written down. That's going to get a bumper sticker.
Fortunately, we have this show timestamp, so if anybody else steals that idea, we're going to come after you. Our team of attorneys.
Yeah, it's going to be April 3rd, 2014 at 9:24 p.m. Pacific time. I also love the I Hate Whales. I think that's going to be the best bumper sticker out there because that's going to enrage so many on the left.
Who hates the whales?
I don't know. I don't remember what show it was, and maybe Sacco can look it up at some point. But we came up with the idea for the bumper sticker that says, "I hate whales."
Yeah.
Because we're trying to piss somebody off.
Who did that?
We did.
I remember that.
I just don't remember
And
why.
I think we mentioned. I think we mentioned something also about beat a harp seal. I think was another one that we threw out that night, and we got some like ooh or something like that.
I think we got hate mail for that. So that's why we came up with the "I hate whales" bumper sticker. Love Sackheads Radio. That's going to make it to the. That's going to be complimentary with every T-shirt that people buy. Yeah, I hate whales bumper sticker. But there's no way to get it without a bumper sticker. Just remember that. It's called marketing, folks. 347-205-9399 is the phone number for the show if you want to call in and talk to Sacco. When we come back, we should probably talk about the CIA deputy director, or former deputy director, testifying before Congress today. Back in 3 here on the second.
You mean the douchebag?
D-bag.
Hello, I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Hillsdale President Dr. Larry on how the founders view God as the source of our equality and civil rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. Join the national conversation on the Constitution on constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcast on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Political Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Well, that's the Twinkle Shot on Sackheads Radio. Radiating elegant.
Just scream the call, Sacco. Jesus, not that hard. All you got to do is get on the phone. Oh, hey, we're back.
Hey, 347-205-9399. We love Sacco. We're just helping him out over there. He's just wanted to make sure he knew what was up and what's down. That's what we do here for Sacco. We give him a hand. We wouldn't ever yell at you like that, Sacco. Don't tell anyone, including the government. What?
What? Hey, sit over there and do your tech stuff, okay? Let the personalities do the show. Hey, is this thing on, Sacco?
Let the real thinkers be in show. Which way does the microphone go?
Hey, is the talkie thing ready?
That's the doorknob, Clint. Oh. Just point me in the direction and I'll go. So the former deputy director of the CIA, Morell, was once again in front of Congress.
That he's a Weasley looking guy, isn't he? Michael.
Yeah.
Now, hang on, I have a conspiracy theory. Any relation to Michael Moore? Doesn't look like him, but he's just as big a D-bag.
I saw a bumper sticker.
Dude, I love that China bumper sticker.
We had a couple other good ones at the break that we made.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But that's some good ones.
Okay, go. Okay, so he essentially, one of the biggest things that came out of it, and I kind of want to jump to it right away, is him talking about the fact that he removed the word Islamist out of the extremists on the talking points memo when it was sent over for release. He said he did this because he didn't want to fuel the passions of the people in the Middle East. As you remember, it was a very tumultuous time in the Middle East, just like it is today. Egypt was all on fire. Libya was upset, I'm pretty sure. There's a whole bunch of other things going on.
Libya was upset, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure someone was pissed off.
But, it was a completely tumultuous time, and he was worried about, now, the administration's so afraid to upset the Middle East. It's amazing how they don't care if they upset their own people. Let's take Obamacare, for instance. We don't care if half the country hates it and it's growing more and more.
More than half.
We're jamming it down your throat. Oh, okay. Pakistan, because somebody released a video, we're going to go on your television and buy ad space and explain how sorry we are and how we had nothing to do with it. What the hell is that? And then they're so worried that the day after 4 Americans died in an attack, a coordinated attack on our embassies, that this D-bag, which, how did he get, when I think of deputy director of the CIA, I think of guys like Jack Ryan. Now, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy. Huge Harrison Ford fan. Not the point.
Not Ben Affleck?
He was actually, I thought he was pretty good. We can go into that another show.
Because he's from Boston.
No, actually, I thought he was good as a young Jack Ryan. I thought the time continuum was a little messed up. We can get into that. But this D-bag, who's releasing the talking point memo, DOD was okay with it, FBI is okay with it, Department of State was okay with it. He removes the word Islamist to not fuel the passion, i.e., an election's coming up and we're going to throw out some bullshit. Representative Thornberry out of Texas, I thought, had the best line of questioning, and I have a couple of his clips as well as one out of Michelle Bachmann. I think we're right in the first one, and this is right off the bat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Morell. Thank you again for being here.
Welcome.
For your years of service to the CIA. I want to try to understand better the deputies meeting on the 15th and your subsequent edits to the talking points. Were you all having daily deputies meetings at this time?
Yes, sir. We were having twice daily deputies meetings.
So twice a day on the 13th, on the 14th, on the 15th, you would have these video conference meetings in which you participated as the deputy for the CIA.
That's correct.
And I presume there would be a deputy from State and Defense, as well as members of the White House National Security Council staff.
FBI, DOJ, NCTC. Yes, sir.
Okay. So as we reviewed the emails of the night of well, let me back up for just a second. I'm sorry. As best you remember, the deputies meetings, the 2 deputies meetings on the 14th, I presume Benghazi had to be a major issue that y'all discussed.
It was not, sir. It was not a major issue. We were not looking backwards at that point. We were looking forward. So the focus of all of these deputies meetings, particularly the ones on Saturday, and Sunday, when Susan Rice was on the Sunday shows, I was at a deputies meeting.
Yeah.
The focus of those was on keeping Americans safe in all the places in the world where there were continuing protests and demonstrations. So we were not looking backwards at what happened in Benghazi. We were looking forward on how do we keep Americans safe.
Okay. So was interesting to me. So even on the 14th, the basic tenor of the meetings was, we got the Americans out, so we're not going to worry about Libya anymore.
It's not that we weren't worried about Libya. We were still very worried about Tripoli, where we still had Americans, but we were not focused on Benghazi because we were focused on keeping Americans safe going forward.
So Representative Thornberry set it up rather nicely too. Hey, what was the mindset the day after? What were you guys worried about? What were you focused on? We just had the attack. Everyone knew it happened. Where was your mindset of the deputy directors of the CIA as to where we went from here? And Morrell responds, looking forward. We're not going to look back. It already happened. I think he was kind of going under the way of, it's not our job to do the investigation. It's our job to make sure it doesn't happen again or more Americans aren't put in harm's way. I think that's where he was leading it. That's not what he said, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard.
I don't even give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard, because in order to look forward, you have to first analyze what happened to understand it. And then, once you understand what happened and why it happened, now you can look forward.
But that also opens up the fact that they already know why it happened. They didn't need to ask those questions.
Exactly.
They were aware.
And that's why.
And I think that's what Thornberry was setting up.
Yes.
And I thought he did a very good job of that. Here's number two.
As I go and look at the emails, as of 9:10 o'clock at the night of the 14th, it looks like FBI has signed off. The talking points have been edited to reflect the State Department concerns, although it doesn't say they've signed off. So I'm not clear. O'clock at night, there's this email that says, okay, we've made these changes, FBI's okay, can we go ahead and send them? And there was a brief answer back that said no. What time was your deputies meeting the next morning?
I believe it was 8 a.m.
Okay, and did you have conversations with State Department folks or emails from State Department folks that morning before the deputies meeting that said, we're still not happy with these talking?
No, sir, but as I said earlier, my executive assistant told me that State Department was not happy with the talking points.
And
my executive assistant told me. Curb the blame. That's exactly what he's doing. Whoa, this wasn't my fault. The executive assistant just told me they just weren't happy with the talking points. I didn't need to talk to them directly and find out exactly what it was. That was good enough for me to surmise what I needed to change. What? You just had an attack on an American embassy, and you're relying, and I'm not saying he has a lousy executive assistant, but I'm just saying that may be something you want to be a one-on-one contact with, being a deputy director of the CIA in a major incident. Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Okay, good. Here's
about one other sentence. It says, the wide availability of weapons and experienced fighters in Libya almost certainly contributed to the lethality of the attacks. That didn't have anything to do with warnings. It's just a statement of fact.
I saw it as speculative. I saw it as totally speculative. We didn't know that the attackers had any specific training. We just didn't know at that point. So I saw it as speculative. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was helpful. And I'm not saying I made all the right decisions in each one of these cases, but that's why I made the decision.
Yeah, it's just such a drastic change from what had been going on for 2 days through the process. That's why I've been puzzled by the changes you make that seemingly are more protective of other agencies than even those other agencies are.
Yeah, so go ahead. So you took out everything that's kind of related to warnings and a bunch of other stuff too. To me, you're more interested in protecting the State Department also from the State Department is something else that Thornberry said. And he's setting them up like, hey, you're protecting other agencies, you're protecting other people, and there's a parallel that I want to draw here when we're done playing the clips. So the Representative Thornberry is kind of walking him down this road. He's leading him down this path, and I kind of like where he's going. He's setting him up for, hey, you're protecting somebody.
Well, and You can already draw that conclusion.
About one other sentence. It says the wide availability of weapons and experienced fighters in...
Sorry about that. Huh? I hit the wrong button. You know what? I do that occasionally. I hit wrong buttons.
I leave you for 1 second.
And that's the problem, Sacco. You leave us. If you sit at your chair at your post and man your post, these things wouldn't happen. The show would run smoothly.
You can't leave me in charge of all people.
Is this hockey thing on? Make it work.
So as he set it up, and give me about 2 seconds because I just want to make sure that I bring this clip up the right way the next time. Oh, no, that was the right way. That was the last clip. Sorry. But he goes and he gets to the point of, listen, you have the choice. DOD was happy with it. FBI was happy with it. Everyone was happy with it. Why did you feel that you needed to make the change?
Because he's protecting the State Department.
Exactly.
And who's in charge of the State Department?
Hillary
At the time, it was Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton is a prime presidential candidate coming up. Now, Obama was in the midst of a re-election then, and also it's reported, and I read it through Fox News, that they have an unidentified source, or a source that they're not disclosing, that says that Morell is actually very, very close to the Clintons, and he actually wants to work on her presidential campaign. Weird, so right? It's just an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you start peeling back the layers of this all the way around, and you can essentially get to what we've all said for a long time. And it's almost for those of us that knows that understand what's going on, and we know that they did this for pure political gain. It's not an enlightenment. We're not like, oh, wow, this is mind-blowing testimony. I can't believe he said that. Really, it's just shoring up and putting people on record to have an answer one way or the other for us to debate.
Is Morell being truthful?
I don't believe so.
Is Morell a penis?
Yes.
So if you pull the foreskin back, like a layer, what do you think is going to find?
The last clip I want to play is a quick one between Michelle Bachmann and Morell, and she just kind of nails him.
You need significant substantive changes for the White House. Whether it was on behalf, we don't know, but we know you are the one who made those changes.
If you look at the record, what you will see is the changes I made were fully consistent with what our analysts believed at the time.
Fully consistent with what our analysts believed at the time. And
how about what would the people on the ground say?
Exactly.
Why was he taking the word of analysts over the station chief?
He had a secured video conference with the chief of station for the CIA in Benghazi, and another high, I think he was the number 2 in the embassy, about what happened. And if you look at those videos that they showed the next day while it was still burning, it didn't take a lot to figure out that there was some heavy-duty weapons involved going on there. There was some coordination to breach that. And then we found out video of the intel and everything. He said it, I think the second clip I played, not everything I did was perfect, but I was trying to do my best, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that you're going to see probably by the time the midterms are done, that the Benghazi hearings are pretty much, Pinetta's not going to be recalled, which is a shame. But I still want to talk, at this point, I still want to hear from the people that were on the ground there, the Americans that were on the ground there, and those who responded, to find out exactly who knew what when, because they know, I mean, the people that work in this consulate know who makes a phone call and what happens. We know there was live video, et cetera, but I think that will show it up. And one of the things that needs to happen in this country right now is you cannot let Benghazi fall by the wayside, because I've already heard it, well, you know, it was for Americans, it was so long ago. It's very telling how the Obama administration operates, and because she was in charge, it's very telling on how Clinton operates. If she wanted to be honest about this whole thing and sidestep the president, and no matter
what did you say? If she wanted to be what?
Honest?
Oh, yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
You know what? I would have given her all the credit in the world if she came out immediately and said, hey, you know what? We were caught. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We made a mistake. People died. We have to learn from it and move on. This is our fault. Nobody would have, you would have no argument. We wouldn't be sitting here right now debating it. But the one thing that they were trying to do, which was avoid this affecting elections, is exactly what's going on right now. It's going to affect the midterms. And if she runs, it's going to affect her presidential run. All because they were trying to hide something. It's that whole, when you tell one lie, it leads to another thing. Remember that on TV? Yeah. It's playing out right here in front of us.
I'm not shocked. We obviously haven't seen, the end of this. And I'm curious to see who else they're going to call. We knew that from classified sources, and one of the representatives said, well, that's not true, because he came out, meaning Representative Rogers said, I came out the next day and said that it had the hallmarks of an Al-Qaeda attack, and I don't think I was disclosing classified sources. So the whole thing, and I think Morrell, he's already retired. He has his job with a consulting firm for now.
Well, he's going to go to Hillary.
Well, yeah, he'll go to Hillary. Right. I don't think he'll be fired over this from his private sector job. So he's fireproof, right?
Yeah.
He's out of the federal government. He can go fall on the sword. And
just enough.
If Hillary's going to run, she can take care of him. He's easy political fodder, and it's really not going to impact him until, let's say, 3 years from now or 4 years from now, if it comes to a Senate confirmation, if Hillary tries to appoint him to something, or she'll just put him into a czar job somewhere.
Yeah, he'll be in a czar paper somewhere, making $150,000 a year, something ridiculous. But more importantly, like you said, he has, that we know of, no political aspirations. He can fall on that sword. He can be the dunce in all this, and you know, jump up and almost protect her, take that bullet from her, so to speak, and say, hey, you know what? This is all on us. This is all on me. I can blame the CIA because I don't have to look those people in the face when I walk through the door Monday morning now. I can blame anyone I want, including myself, and as long as it takes that distraction away, life is good. Hey, we only have a few minutes left.
Disgusting.
It's horrible, and hopefully more will come about. But because we only have a few minutes left in the show, and I got to get them in now,
Red, white, blue, that's a joke, son! A flag waver!
Our good friend Rooster from Outcry Radio, conservativeoutcry.net. Outcry Radio every Saturday night here on Blog Talk Radio joins us on the phone right now. Rooster, hi, sir.
I'm doing quite well. You know, Sacco's not real happy with me.
Why is Sacco mad at you?
I'm just saying Sacco's happy with you, and you better think about what you're doing, because he's about ready to walk. In fact, he told me that if you go after him again, like you did tonight, he's going to stand up, look you right in the eye, and say, "Trade me right fucking now," and he's going to walk out the door.
You know what? We've been shopping around other shows for a trade, but his salary, nobody wants to take that on their cap. His salary is incredible. So
his salary is really astonishing. Like it's staggering.
So how you guys doing?
We're doing well,
my friend. How about you?
I've had good days. I've had bad. I'm getting up there in the age. So, I'm just happy to be alive.
Hey, not everyone hits triple digits and sounds nearly as good as you.
And you know what? The hell with you. I saw your hairline, and I know what's coming.
You don't know. Hey, listen, you don't know who's who in that. There's no way of telling. I agree with you.
I do know. I do know who's who in that.
That's terrible.
I must say that
everybody knows what a Boston accent looks like. That's the problem, John.
You
showed your Boston accent.
Yes, he does. He looked exactly like I pictured him to be. Now, you, Clint, on the other hand, did not.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking for some tattoo-loading Polynesian hippie.
Now, I do have tattoos. My entire back is tattooed. However, it's nothing you can see when I'm wearing a shirt or a business shirt or even short sleeve shirts or anything like that.
Oh.
So you were half rich, just couldn't see the tattoos.
And he also, you can't tell in the pictures, but his mullet is really pronounced.
Real mullet. In those pictures, you can actually see the back a little bit, so you can tell that I don't have a mullet. And don't make me start telling stories about Reno trips and tattoos.
I blocked that out of my mind intentionally. Right now.
So you might just want to simmer down right over there, Boston.
If you folks want to know all the joy that we're talking about, go to SackheadsRadio.com and click convention pictures. And you can see I'm the tall, thin one. Just so everyone knows, I'm the tall, thin one.
Just thin one doesn't look like Boston. So, yeah.
Did you hear Nancy the other day? Nancy Pelosi said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among them are life, a healthier life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness," meaning not job lot. She was actually quoting from the Founding Fathers.
But did she actually mention healthcare in there, or throw that in there as an aside, or was that you that just did that?
No, that's the quote.
So she threw healthcare in there. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Among these are life.
She's a progressive thing, right? So it sounds good, but she twists it because there was no healthcare back then.
No, they had lesions.
Yeah. And bleeding, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, were you a doctor back then?
Yeah, I was.
Did they have gynecologists back then?
I'm not going to answer that because what's going through my head right now will get you guys thrown off of the internet.
I just called Sakahontas in the chat room. I don't know what that means.
Sakahontas. Hey, I do have a note here. When we make that bumper sticker, I hate whales, with the picture of a whale in it, we have to send it to the National Oceanic. We have to send it to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Fisheries Office of Law Enforcement.
It's going to have a picture of a whale or a picture of Michael Moore?
Picture of a whale, and it is, and that law enforcement agency is responsible for the ecosystem protection and conservation of national marine life. So we need to send that agency. What's that?
I thought that was Greenpeace.
No. It's an actual federal law enforcement agency formed in 1970s. It used to be the Division of Law Enforcement, U.S. Fish Commission and Bureau.
Those are the people that check my license when I'm fishing, right?
What's that?
It's the people that check my license when I'm fishing?
No, no. That would be Fish and Game. This is a very specialized
How many police
unit.
departments do we have in this country?
A lot. So I know that. Hang on, no. I know Department of Agriculture has them, Forest Service has them, Department of Commerce, National Institute of Standards and Technology, Department of Energy, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Fishery is awesome for law enforcement. That's my favorite one. Department of Commerce, Department of Defense, Defense Criminal Investigative Services, the Pentagon Force Protection Agency, United States Pentagon Police. I wonder how many pings I'm hitting with the feds right now. Capitol Police, Defense Logistics Agency, National Security Agency, National Geospatial Agency. What's that? NCIS. It's CID. Obviously, all those. Department of Education, Department of Energy, of course. Health and Human Services. That's weird. Office of Criminal Investigation. Yeah,
that's all written on your arm.
Huh. Oh no, I've looked these up before just because I'm ridiculous. I can go on, but and we only have 90 seconds left. I think the Department of Health and Human Services, please. They're the ones that bring you to jail if you smoke a cigarette or eat some sort of trans fat. Is that what it is? I think so. Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. Hug Sacco. Just give him a hug.
What about the Railroad Retirement Board? You see what you did? He's going to be listening to these for the next 2 hours to me, following me around the studio. Oh, wait, I get another one. I'm going to be like Bubba. Shrimp cocktail. Shrimp Creole. Hey, Rooster, we'll talk to you on the other side, sir. Check him out Saturday nights here on Blog Talk Radio, Outcry Radio.
All right, guys.
And there he goes. Thanks, Rooster. Thanks, Rooster. Well, that's it for us tonight, folks. We're back Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check us out on Twitter. If you have a chance, go to Twitter and follow. I retweeted a great picture that Ken, the exceptional conservative, sent. It could be Sackhead Sean if you look at it. It could very well be. It could be. It looks like you. So follow us on Twitter at Sackheads. For Sackhead Sacco, Sackhead Clint, this is Sackhead Sean saying thank you very
best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Pretty sure it's the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Wow. So, this is fun, huh?
Listen, we're going old school.